to our 10th and final week, the TSN Classic Bowl Championship. Randy Peterson alongside. It's been a pleasure to work with you all these 10 weeks. We started with 105 bowlers who hoped to qualify. We got down to the last 5 a week ago, and Douglas Yu, the survivor, the story early, wins over Sanisak, then wins again to take another step up the ladder, and then, well, he ran into a buzzsaw by the name of Ryan Seton, and what a game Seton had. He took a perfect game into the 10th.
Well, he made beautiful shots to start, and that's the strike that he threw in the 8th frame, follows up here in the 9th frame with what we like to term as dead flush perfect. Here he is in the 10th frame, first ball in the 10th. Look at Ryan go, and boy, was he a lot of fun to watch. Only a pesky 4-pin ended his chances for perfection.
All right, so it ends there. Now he turns it around a week later and says, hey, I've got to play for the championship. It's all about bottling that. You know, would love to say, pull it out of your pocket and do it again. What does he do with that almost perfect game? Does that stay up here?
Well, I think he rides the wave of momentum. He knows what he can do and what kind of game he can bring to television. And so he just needs to keep doing what Ryan Seton does best, and that's to keep the ball on line and throw a lot of strikes and really put the pressure on his opponent.
All right, now you've got Conrad Merker by contrast. Guaranteed himself. He has already $2,000 burning a hole in his pocket. He's been sitting. He's been waiting. What's his approach?
Well, his approach should be pretty loose because he's already got the $2,000 cash in his pocket, and that tends to make the arm swing fairly loose and relaxed. What he has to do is somehow try to find a way to maybe force Ryan out of his game, you know, get into his head and kind of reverse things and get the momentum on his side.
Now, this is a little different. We're going to play 2-game total pins. How does that change the dynamic here?
The bottom line is you want to strike. You know, it's get up there and knock as many pins down as you can with each and every shot, period.
So it's all on the line. The loser takes home $2,000. But the winner, $5 grand, goes to the champion when we come back on Canada's sports leader, TSN.
Hello, Canada. I'm Randy Peterson, a 13-time winner on the Professional Bowlers Tour. Today we're going to talk about how to create power and revolutions on a bowling ball. You know, back in my heyday, we were taught to lift on a bowling ball, but guess what? That does nothing to create power. In fact, it kills power. What we want to do is we want to get that wrist in somewhat of a cup position in the downswing, and then we're going to try to throw that bowling ball off the end of our wrist like a yo-yo. And that snapping action with the wrist is what puts the revolutions on a bowling ball. Check this out. All right, hey, I got 9, but that should have struck. But did you see the stuff I had on that ball and made it hook back to the pocket? That's what you want to do. Roll that wrist underneath it.
It's all on the lane now. This championship final. 2-game total pins. And appropriately, it comes down to the number 1 and number 2 seeds. Conrad Merker, the 40-year-old from Brantford, Ontario, against 23-year-old Ryan Seton of Mississauga. Are you a country guy or city guy?
City guy.
Country music or rock and roll?
Rock and roll.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Pasta or steak?
Steak.
Good choice. Books or movies?
Movies.
Suspense or comedy?
Suspense.
If you could drive one, would it be a van or an SUV?
SUV.
Sedan or convertible?
Sedan.
Do you like baseball or hockey?
Baseball.
Big Lebowski or Kingpin?
Kingpin.
City guy or country guy?
City.
Country music or rock and roll?
Rock and roll.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
Pasta or steak?
Steak.
Books or movies?
Movies.
Suspense or comedy?
Comedy for sure.
If you could drive one, a van or an SUV?
SUV.
Sedan or convertible?
Sedan.
Hockey or baseball?
Baseball.
Big Lebowski or Kingpin?
Kingpin.
Of course.
Absolutely.
You know, Randy, when they came out of the 8-game qualifier to get into the round of 24, you go back that far, And it was Seton was ranked 12th. Merker was ranked 14th. But here they are 1 and 2 after all those games. And the #1 seed, Merker, elects to go first and throws it right at him with a strike.
And we have a little bit different mindset now, Vic, because it's a 2-game match. Remember, we talked about this tournament being kind of a marathon to start with the 8 games of qualifying and then a sprint with 1-game elimination matches. Well, now we have 2 games. You get into a little bit of trouble in this first game. Hey, don't panic. Figure it out and bomb them the second game.
Wow, we talked about whether he'd be able to bottle the wonderful game he had last week. And he still had a strike in his pocket, Ryan Seton.
And the nice thing about youth, Brian being only 23, is he's not really supposed to know what it's like to be nervous. He's not old enough.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah.
The older
Sure.
you get, the harder it is to handle the nerves.
A little high, huh?
On the spare. On the spare.
Good cover by Seton. Conrad Merker out of Brantford, Ontario, trying to build on it. And did he come up and out of that a little early?
Yeah, he got a little quick, stuck at the foul line, came up and out of it, and he tugged it left of target, but luckily only leaving the 4-pin. I think he was probably even surprised that this got close enough to almost strike. You could see him. He's kind of trying to wave it off. He's had to sit and watch the stepladder finals for quite a period of time. Finally gets his chance now as the #1 seed. Remember, 2-game total pin match for the TSN Classic Bowl Championship.
Oh dear. Gave it a little twist. That 10 actually does a little twist. Now, throughout the week, she said, especially in match play, you have to make your decisions, make your changes, be decisive. Does it still hold true, realizing you've got a second game, or do you risk waiting a frame or two before making that change?
No, I think you have to keep the same mindset and make those changes on the fly and try to stay one step ahead of the oil transitioning. And everything else still holds true as well, Vic. I mean, avoid the open frames and make your spares. Remember, it's 2-game total pins. Every pin counts. Right here, Ryan Seton can take an early lead with a strike here in the 3rd frame.
Good leave. Come on, man.
Obviously not as comfortable with his ball reaction early on as he was a week ago when he bowled a near perfect game. He ended up shooting 289. He had a little bit of right in terms of area on the lane and a little bit of left. He was throwing the ball absolutely perfect.
Well, he said it was a good leave, and it turns out to be a spare in 3. Now, neither Conrad or Ryan have been on television before. That doesn't mean they don't have big bowling experience. Merker has played in a PBA stop. He's been in Team Canada trials. Ryan is a former Canadian Bowler of the Year back in 2007. So they know about that kind of pressure, the pressure of the moment, the pressure of the tournament. The television pressure, though, is all new for them.
And then all of a sudden you start throwing some money on top of that.
That's right.
But again, like I said early on in this competition, pressure is what makes it fun. I think you're going to see Ryan make a ball change here because he really liked that last shot. It never hooked up and got far enough into the 1-3 pocket. It's a nice cover there, though, on the 2-4-8 to stay clean through 4 frames. Strike in the 4th for Conrad. 4-pin lead with a strike here in the 5th. He can increase that lead to 14. Get out to that early jump start. Remember, we talked about it in the Open of him trying to reroute the momentum from the Seton camp to his camp.
Tried to walk it into the pocket. Well, both bowlers are clean now. Conrad Merker through 5. Has a couple of strikes. Brian Seton with an early strike in the 1st and 3 spares to follow.
Hook.
No.
Ball's a little lazy down the lane. A little too soft. He needs something that's going to turn over a bit harder.
I mean, you immediately want to draw a comparison to what he threw when he had the perfect 10 and then what he's throwing now.
And it's not turning over hard enough down the lane.
Let's try a ball change here.
And there you have it. You heard him say it right there. Time for a ball change.
Now, how does he add that? Can he add that with his delivery, his throw?
Well, the smart money is to just change balls and do it with a ball that will actually turn over a little harder down the lane.
Okay.
Whoa. Whoa.
Well, you got behind it, and that'll be tough.
Ball change.